Welcome back to the Mayor's Corner with Worcester County Sheriff and candidate for State Auditor, Guy Glodis. Guy, every time we talk, I start haranguing you about these unfunded mandates. You mentioned them already. Let's just talk a little bit about them because property taxpayers are outraged, I think, throughout the Commonwealth at obviously the extra burden they've had to shoulder. Mayors are outraged, and we're always picking at that unfunded mandate issue.
Well, you know the issue, Mayor, and you've been on the front lines of it, and I applaud you for your work on the issue, but it's something that has to be addressed sooner or later. The legislature, in their infinite wisdom, and many times they mean well by this, but they're passing mandates, whether it's ethics, whether it's special education, whether it's transportation, whether it's environmental, which are all good ideas, but then they don't give the resources. They don't supply the financial resources to implement those mandates. So where does it come from? It comes from local cities and towns, and it ends up being increased property taxes that seniors can't afford, and it really creates a debacle. And I think that's something where the auditor, again, can and should be involved with. We have a division of unfunded mandates within the office, and that office should be more proactive, working with municipalities, working with mayors, listening to their local needs and concerns about these unfunded, and challenging them. Even if we have to go to court, they will withstand the court challenge because they're unfunded, and you can't mandate something without the financial resources to go with it. So, I sympathize with you and the council. It's very difficult when you have to, when Boston tells you what you need to do, and then they don't provide you the resources to do it. It's a challenging, and you're caught in the crossfires.
Well, I couldn't have said that better myself. Thank you. I know what the right answer was, but I wanted to make sure that you had you do have the right answer on that. Let's talk about. We talked about the local flavor, and
I love it up here.
Yeah,
I love it here.
You've been to so many different places, but Methuen has almost been like a second home to you. Honestly, you've been up here so much that I thought you might be running for mayor, but you're running for auditor.
The ladies at Dunkin' Donuts knows me. That's a scary fact. I was just down the street out of it. Again, but you got so many good places up here. I've been up here at the Loop with you, and I've been to Man's Orchards, which I love, and I've met with different people there. The Sweetheart Cafe, great little hideaway. We've had some events up there. The Senior Center, which is just a well-run senior center. I was there actually yesterday. They had an appreciation luncheon, and just so many seniors that go there, and the volunteers there are so active. And I've been to City Hall with you, but that's important. I always said if you want to fix a factory, don't go to the boardroom, go to the assembly line and listen. And if I get elected auditor, I would love to come to Methuen and just listen. I mean, city employees know where there's waste and mismanagement. Senior citizens don't miss a thing. They watch everything. They can tell you what time that police officer showed up on the detail and what he was doing. I mean, but government's got to learn to listen more. And I think if we do that, there's going to be a lot of efficiencies, and we're going to find new ways to save taxpayer money. And that's ultimately what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And we do appreciate the fact that a statewide candidate is paying attention to not only Methuen, but the whole Merrimack Valley. And you are in a statewide race, and we have a Democratic primary. When is the primary?
The primary is coming right up. It's dependent on when they're watching this at home. It's Tuesday, September 14th, which is probably only a week or two away from when people will be watching this. So, that's the challenge, too, is getting people motivated. Everybody complains come November with the candidates, I don't like my choice. Well, that choice is decided in the primary. So even if they're not supporting my candidacy, there's so many other races for treasurer and for local rep races. Please get out to vote, because that shapes what the dynamic is come November.
Well, I know that we'll probably see more competition from the Republican Party this year, but we're talking about a Democratic primary now. And in your race, we have 3 candidates. And, you're here in Methuen again. What is it that separates you from your 2 opponents?
Well, first of all, let me say, I know both of my opponents. They're both good people. I like both of them. I've become friends with them on the campaign trail. I can't, speak more highly about them personally. But I can tell you what separates us professionally is, number one, I'm the only candidate in this race that's actually balanced a budget. I have a $44 million a year budget as Sheriff of Worcester County. We've been able to receive national recognition and national awards for fiscal innovation. The state recognized the Worcester County Sheriff's Office for the most precipitous drop in workers' comp from 44 down to single digits. We've been able to balance 6 budgets in a row despite a 14% budget cut. So I understand how to reduce waste, how to reduce fraud, how to manage an agency as big as the Auditor's Office, which coincidentally is smaller than the sheriff's office. It's smaller budget and smaller staff, so I'm confident I can do a good job with the managerial skills about that office. But I think the biggest thing that separates is the fact that I'm an independent candidate. You know, I have one candidate that worked for the Romney administration, another candidate that worked for the Patrick administration, a third candidate that worked for the Clinton administration. They're all very partisan. You can't be partisan as auditor. You got to be able to challenge your own party. You got to be able to challenge your governor, even if it's within the same party. And I think I'm the one candidate that's had a long history. I mean, I've challenged people within my own party. I beat an incumbent sheriff from the Democratic Party. I've voted off in the state Senate more than any other Democrat. I'm the only Democrat that voted to reduce the state income tax to 5.0. So, I mean, I think out of all the candidates, you need somebody that's not only reform-orientated, but somebody that's going to be independent, and somebody that challenge your own party, challenge the political establishment. I haven't been endorsed by the powers that be. I haven't been endorsed by the incumbent. I don't serve in the governor's administration. I have one Republican opponent that says she wants to be the thorniest of thorns in the governor's side, which I don't agree with the governor, but you can't go in with a political agenda out to get somebody. I mean, that's just not right. And like Attorney General, I think the position has to be very nonpartisan, very objective, and your sole goal should be to save money and eliminate waste and fraud and mismanagement. And I've had a history of doing it. I'm willing to give up a safe seat to be able to run for this office and implement those changes. And you know, I certainly would love to ask for consideration come Tuesday, September 14th.
Let's talk a little bit about the question you just stole that I was going to ask, and that was about you're running as a Democrat, but this office, I couldn't agree more, requires almost a nonpartisan mindset as you go in. But your history is that your party hasn't always been enamored of you, isn't that?
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
You know, it's funny because usually what I've been criticized the most is probably an asset in this race. You know, I always get criticized as being a maverick and being an outsider and, you know, not conforming always with my party's ideology. And believe me, I'm proud to be a Democrat. I am a Democrat. I agree with Democratic values, but I'll be the first to challenge the Democrat. You just can't go blindly with an idea just because it came from a Democratic Party or Republican party. You got to look at the issue individually and make a decision based on that. And I've agreed with the Republicans on some issues, as I've agreed with Democrats on other issues. But you have to be. I love that sticker. You don't see it anymore. Challenge authority or question authority. That's great. I love that. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all. Especially when you're the auditor. You know, again, I have one candidate work for Romney, another candidate work for Deval Patrick, and you know they both think they're both great and they'd rubber stamp whatever their initiatives are. And we had enough of rubber stamping. I mean, we had an entire boondoggle with a big dig that, you know, never even got audited. I mean, it's amazing, you know, the rubber stamping that's gone on. And on the contrary, you just can't have a partisan agenda where you're out to get somebody because they're not in your party either. You got to be able to walk that fine line and just be in the interest of what's the taxpayer's interest. And that's what you got to stay focused on.
Well, I know that one of the things you've talked about, and I know the public is divided on it, but the application of federal stimulus money. You know, we just have seen some additional education dollars coming to the Commonwealth, but in general, federal government put out about $700 billion of stimulus money in Massachusetts. What would be the role of the auditor in dealing with stimulus money?
The role of that auditor is making sure that it's ethically and efficiently, effectively, and in some cases even legally distributed fairly and equitably. There's been a lot of questions about how federal stimulus money is getting planned. You know, I know there was one project in Middlesex County, nowhere close to Methuen, but it was a solar panel project. You know, one municipality said it created 2 jobs, the other municipality said it created 38 jobs. You know, it just doesn't make sense. It's the same project, same money, same size and scope. So, I mean, these are some of the things you have to look at, and you have to make sure that money is being spent fairly and equitably and legally. And that's been some issues in the past. And I've always said, if you think you've heard a lot about the big dig, you know, wait till we look into stimulus money. But we can't wait till for it to be a wrong. There's got to be a correct vision right now, following that money, having transparency, putting it on the web, making sure it's getting to the contractors, and most importantly, emphasizing it going to Massachusetts workers. There's no excuse to be going out of state. We have some of the most talented, we have the best education system in the nation. We have the highest test scores. We have some of the best vocational schools. It doesn't make sense why we have to import jobs out. Keep that money here employing Massachusetts people. It creates revenue, and revenue helps mayors, and it helps education, helps schools, it helps hospitals, and that's what we need to do.